Okay, another synthetic division practice. So Virginia asked on the last slide, how were you going to see the problem? You mean this is another way you could see it? You could see it presented like a long division problem. You'll see it a few different ways. They all mean the same thing. Here's the thing about synthetic division, right? You only can use synthetic division when you are dividing by a linear factor like x plus 3, linear factor. Somebody here to bother? Linear factor, coefficient equals 1. What you got? Okay. Thanks. So we can use synthetic division for x plus 3. If you go back a couple slides, right? Let's see, this one. 7. That one we could have done. This one you can't do, right? Because that's not a linear factor. You can't use synthetic division for a non-linear factor. That's a quadratic. I don't think we had another one, but for example, if that said 2x plus 3, you wouldn't be able to use it. You can't use synthetic division unless it's 1x to the first power plus or minus a number. That's the only way you do it. Okay. So let's set up our problem. What are the coefficients I should write down? 1, 0, because there's no x to the third, right? Good catch by Trevor, right? 1, 0, negative 10, negative 2, and 4. Looks good. Okay, what number do I put in the bracket on the left? Okay, remember you're putting in the 0, so it's negative 3, because negative 3 plus 3 is 0. So it's always kind of an opposite sense. And then draw your line and bring down the 1, and that's your starting point, right? Now, remember the process. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. What do you do at that step? Add. Right? It's the opposite of what you're thinking, right? Because when you divide, you would have thought, I'm going to subtract at this point. But because we're putting the 0 in here, right, it changes the sense of it. So you got to remember, don't subtract here, add here. Okay, now what? Negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9, add negative 1. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3, add, and then the last step, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, and you just get a 1, right? So what is the remainder? 1. Okay, so the remainder is 1, and then these should be the coefficients of a polynomial of what degree? Third, right? We started with 4, so we reduced it by 1 power by doing this division. So now we've got x to the third minus 3x squared minus x plus 1. Remainder 1. Yeah.
Isn't there like a next step for the remainder of 1? So I remember last year had to true. Mr. Lang, I don't think he wanted a remainder of 1 in our problem, so he made us do something. I forgot what it was. Yeah. He made us do like a fraction or something.
It's the remainder is 1 divided by whatever is the factor you were dividing by, right? No, I don't care. The book, this book does this, so I mean, I'm not going to fight it. It doesn't matter. It all means the same thing. Okay. The fact is that we're not very interested. We're not doing this for the sake of doing long division and finding that we have a remainder. We want remainders of 0. I mean, we are trying to find factors. So really, when we get a non-zero remainder, it means just move on to the next thing. You know, we're not going to stop and play around with it. You know, we're only interested in finding remainders of 0.